Mori offerings once again allow the killer to kill survivors who have been hooked twice. Retired Cypress Momentum Mori offering hasn't been retired. Or has been retired, sorry. So they're gonna get rid of the Cypress ones, because they're pretty meh. We received a lot of feedback with the changes made to Ivory and Ebony Momentum Mori offerings during the PTB. This came down to the loss of mid-match kills and group photo opportunities, as well as concerns that the blow point reward would encourage unfun behavior. With that in mind, we have reverted the changes to the Mori offerings. As a result, Cypress Momentum Mori offering is now obsolete and will be retired. We'll offer 1 million blow points for any unused offerings, which you can claim simply by logging between October 8th and 17th. So I'm assuming it's going to be 1 million total. I'm kind of hoping for a little bit more because I probably have like a shit ton of them, but I will happily take what I can get. But yeah, no, I had a feeling they weren't going to go through with it. They tested this before, and it didn't go through in the past PTB when they did it. And I had a feeling in this new coming PTB, when it got tested, it also wasn't going to go through. It's exactly for the reasons that I said. Not only does like everybody likes the fact that they can do like the group photos with like the, you know, fun little stabbies and already photo bombs and stuff like that, having fun little moments. It's also just like a fun little thing in general. Something different than the usual dying on hook. But also the fact that the blow point bonus you get for the Mori, you only get if you get the Mori, which means if you want to guarantee you get your bonus, you do have to like slug for the 4K, even if you don't necessarily want to, and even if you do, regardless, like it's just it encourages that kind of gameplay, which again, I have no personal, like, I have no qualms against it, no issues with it, but there's a lot of people that don't want to play like that, or a lot of people that don't want to have to play against that, and this is encouraging that, or forcing it on people who maybe don't normally play like that, but now if they want their bonus, they kind of have to. And it's just not a good change all around. That's exactly what I said. I knew it wasn't gonna go through. I'm like, there's no way. I mean, what kind of Moris? They have like 4+ million in yellow Moris. Actually, let me skim through mine. Let me pick like one of my P100s and see how many I have on them. Just out of curiosity. So like Trapper, my first one here. My Trapper has 306 Cyphers. Cyphers are what? They're like 2K? Somebody want to do like 306 times 2,000? And then Huntress, I have 278. I usually try to avoid them. So that alone is already almost, what, 600 or something like that, almost? Out of, or no, 500. Well, yeah, 5 going on 600 out of just 2 killers. Spirit, I have 289. Artist, I have 305. So I'm definitely gonna be missing out on a chunk of points. But Capper alone be 600k. Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna. I kind of wish that they would do a little bit more for the points, or have like some. It might be too much. Maybe they don't want to go through with it. But I was gonna say maybe if they have like a system in place that would have to like read how many you have and give you a proper conversion for it. But that might be too much. I have a feeling the system would like crash or kill the game or servers. Matthew. So I'm definitely losing out on a lot of points because that alone, like, out of just one killer alone, based on the math, it's already at 600k out of the 1 mil, and that's one killer. And I still have 3 other P100s and every other killer that's like at least Prestige 21 or higher to include on top of that. It's work for them. It's not that it's work for them. It just seems like it's unnecessary, and like the amount of coding I would imagine that it would take, and the potential to like. I genuinely feel like it would probably overload the server if everybody logged on and the game was trying to convert, like do the conversions of the numbers for every single person. It probably, what do you call it? It probably would just like go kaput, kill the game, something would crash. So why does this monitor look like that? I swear my one monitor is always like weirdly bright no matter how many times I change the settings on it. Change it for now, and I'll probably go back. Okay. Better than nothing, yeah. How often do you do Cypress? I have not used the Cypress Mori. I want to say at least I don't think I've used it in the time since I started streaming. So like at least a little over 2 years minimum. I don't really use it. Like if I'm ever gonna bring a Mori, I'd like the bare minimum. I'm bringing an Ivory, not a Cypress. It's not really needed. Oh, yours in a couple weeks. Nice. Any plans for Thursday skydiving? Okay. But yeah. So back to notes. So the Mori update is not going through, which is good. That's what I thought. Skull Merchant news. Skull Merchant gains 5% haste when survivors scan within 5 seconds of placing a drone or changing its rotation. So that'll remove the ability for her to get haste when she gets like a scan on somebody that's on the other side of the map or just like random. Change increased hindered effect when scanned by drone to 8%. It was 5%. Increased drone rotation speed to 95 degrees per second instead of 85. Decreased movement speed while deploying the drone or inspecting the radar to 4.4 instead of 4.6 because she used to not get slowed at all. Fast falls are no longer detected by drones. Wait, so they buffed it? So they're increasing the hinder because you have to get scanned 3 times, and then that's what gives you the claw trap, and then it's every time after getting the claw trap that you get hindered. So they're buffing the hindered but changing the haste. So that way you can only get it within 5 seconds, so you're not getting haste rapidly from people on the other side of the map. I don't know if I necessarily like the idea of buffing the hindered. It does mean that you don't have to worry so much about her triggering random haste quite as much. But you'll still be able to get it quite a bit, even if you just like quickly swap the rotation. But I guess that's also kind of why they did the reduced movement speed. Because you could try and like quick drop a drone or quick swap like the rotation of a drone to get somebody scanned. But I think their thinking is that if they decrease her movement speed a bit while she's doing that, then it buys the survivor time to get further away, either out of the loop or around it to like a window or pallet. They'll still DC against her. Well, people are going to DC regardless because people are just salty and refuse to even attempt to learn or change or try something new. They have that before and they removed it because they made her feel bad to use. I think the reason they're doing it is specifically because they're changing the way the haste is. I genuinely believe that's why it has to be. They're trying to offset the fact that you can only get 5% haste now when you either within 5 seconds of placing the drone or swapping the rotation. So if you have a drone down and you want to like get somebody scanned but it's going the wrong way, it's gonna take too long to get them scanned. The idea behind it is you think, oh well, I'll just swap the way the drone is spinning so that way it runs into the survivor and they can't really avoid it as well. Because they're also increasing the speed that it moves at, so that way it'll spin around a lot faster. So I guess the thinking is just that if you have to either stop to drop a drone if there's not already one, or stop to pull out your scanner and swap the way it's going, it slows you down, and that slowdown while you're doing that gives survivors time to either vault a window, get to a pallet, get out of the loop, something like that.
Once again, the devs never listening to the community. She was already pretty good. They should have just made it so placing drones have more of a cooldown. Having unbridled amount of undetectable and chase pressure is where it's too oppressive.
I don't know if I'd say the unbridled amount of undetectable is what's too oppressive. It's definitely the main part of it that's been the worst is the fact that there's no way to remove lock-on stacks, and it's the haste and hindered effect you're getting in chase. So they are in a way listening because they are messing with the haste. They're doing a little bit more to it. And you're not going to be able to get free like haste. If you got a drone down on the other side of the map and one random survivor doesn't see it and runs into it, you're not going to get haste from them doing that halfway across the map in the chase that you're on with like somebody else. So they're removing that. Like that's not going to be a thing anymore, which is good. So it has to be in the actual chase or something that you're actively doing around you in order to get that haste out of it. So that I'm fine with. And then that's what we were talking about, the decreased movement speed to slow her down. So if you do want to place that drone or you do want to swap the way it's spinning to get that haste, you are slowing yourself down at the same time. That's kind of like a little bit of a give and take. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the increasing of the hindered effect, especially because one thing I never liked about hindered, outside again of the fact that you can't remove lock-on stacks, I don't like that hindered can stack repeatedly before it even runs out. So when you get scanned by a drone, you have 3 seconds of immunity before you can get scanned again. But the hinder effect lasts for 6 seconds. So you can get, if you have a claw trap on you and you get scanned and you're now it's going to be 8% hindered, you're 8% hindered for 6 seconds. But in that 6 seconds, all you need is 3 seconds for it to be able to scan you again. So you get scanned, you get 8% hindered for 6 seconds, and then 3 seconds later you get scanned again, you're back up to another full 6 seconds of 8% hindered. So it's like hindered, 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 hindered. There's no way to get out before you get scanned again. I would that's what part of the reason why I don't like the hindered buff. Because the 5% was already a lot, on top of the fact that she does have a way of getting herself haste. Um, I guess they're doing it because of like the reduced movement speed and everything, and the fact that again you have to work for it because you have to get the claw trap on first, which I understand. But I don't know if I like the increasing of the hindered because it's only 3 seconds, and because they're not giving it like an extra window where you can't get scanned. Like I think it should if they want to go that route, they should give you like some kind of grace period. Like instead of it being every 3 seconds once you're hindered, or like once you've been scanned, instead of it being 3 seconds, it should be like I don't know, like 10 seconds. Try and give you a buffer window for that hinder to run out and a few seconds to try and recover at least. Alright, that's where you can't get rid of it. Yeah, my thinking behind the lock-on stacks was always it should either be like after X amount of time you can remove lock-on stacks, or if they don't want to go down that route, make it so if you like interact with the drones, so say you go up into a drone and you disable it, disabling a drone should be able to remove 1 or 2 stacks, probably like 1. That way, you have a way of actually getting rid of those stacks that have maybe been in kind of like building up throughout the match. Even if they made it something like you can only get rid of so many stacks every so often, so that way you don't just have people that are going around quickly spamming getting rid of them. Because her hindered build-up, like the stack build-up overall in Survivors when they're outside of Chase is pretty mid. I'm not gonna lie, it is very lackluster. However, even though it's very lackluster, it can make a huge difference if, say, somebody gets scanned like once or twice early on in the game and they manage to avoid it the entire game. After that, it's unlikely, but it does happen, and there are certain situations where that, 1 or 2 stacks that you gain can immediately fuck you over from one quick scan and get you broken and injured and immediately killed. So I think having something, even if it was only like limited, like you have to be, have a lockout stack for X amount of time where you can only remove them, after X amount of seconds, something like that. Yeah, this is a new patch update. Went out last night, right around when we were ending the stream. Oh, he's a trap killer, not a chase killer. She's a bit of both. You play through new to the game friends, so rush trying to explain the killer. Feels like you need a PhD professor to be able to teach them. I mean, right now, easiest way, avoid the drone. If you look at a drone, there's 2 little glowing lights on the side. That's where the scan lines are. Avoid the scan line. Don't want to get scanned? Either stand still or crouch. Can't scan you then. If you get 3 stacks, you're fucked. You get injured. But a lot of it is just trying to keep an eye on like the little drones. It's basically 3 stacks, you're injured, and then any stacks after that, you get hindered repeatedly. Are they still removing one of the scan lines though? Let me see. We kind of started talking to finish reading the last little bit. So I think so, because they say that they're changing the drone rotation speed. They're increasing it to 95 instead of 85, but it doesn't specifically say anything about the actual drone lines. I'm assuming that's going through. While this update is intended to reduce Skull Merchant's strength, we receive feedback that the changes may have gone too far. You've done some further tweaking and found a compromise between the old and new versions. Also reintroduced the haste effect for a short time after drone is deployed or its rotation swapped. This will reward the killer for using their power actively rather than setting and forgetting or randomly gaining haste from survivors across the map. We tend to revisit Skull Merchant in the future release for a larger rework. I think it'll be okay. It doesn't say anything about the drone scan line, so I'm assuming that they are going to go through with it because it doesn't say, and because they've decided to increase the drone rotation speed by an extra 10. I'm going to assume that it's still only the 1 line, but we'll find out. Trying to find a good spot. Yeah, I'm honestly wondering if the rework is, if it's going to be like an actual full-blown rework, like completely changing how her power works entirely. Trapper Fag, if you let her keep her drones up, she can create areas where she can force guarantee hits. Yep. The problem is too many people give up too quickly too. Like she definitely has her areas where it's not like there's definitely areas that she needs to be tweaked and that are not okay. But so many people give up so quickly. Like there's people that'll give up at the sight of her, the sound of her terror radius. And they'll see like the load in, they'll see a little change on the icons and they'll immediately disconnect, and that that fucks everybody over in the game. Pyramid Head add-ons. Pyramid Head add-ons do need a rework. His only good ones are the range extenders. Yeah, this is live. Basically, you have people like her, but most of your matches against her are miserable. Oh no, I don't. I'm not disagreeing. Like I agree that there are portions of her power that do need to be changed, and I've talked about that a lot, and that's kind of what we've been talking about here. I think it'll be okay. I'm still kind of iffy on the increasing of the haste, or sorry, not the haste, the increasing of the hindered effect that they're doing here from 8 to 5%. But I'm willing to see how it goes over. Learning spirit starting today. Nice. Well, if you want a spirit guide to help you out, get you some tips, !Spirit gives you links to my guide on YouTube. Doesn't say in these patch notes, but unknown no longer gets slowed down. Oh, did they take that out? I'll finish reading through and we'll find out. Change increase overdrive chainsaw to 12 instead of 1.5 movement. Money found Hillbilly's movement speed during overdrive a little low during PTB. Make it feel similar to his normal chainsaw movement speed, so we've increased it slightly, landing between the PTB and previous live. I think live is like 13 movement speed or something like that. I have to double check. I want to say it's like 13. Reduce tokens. Tokens now recharge over 30 seconds while in chase, up to a maximum of 2. Did I tell you, or did I tell you it was going to be 2? I told you it was going to be 2. I knew it. We're 30 seconds while in chase. I told you, man. I'm just psychic. Now, I knew that's what they're going to do, because having 1 token is a little bit too, it's very, I don't want to say unforgiving, but it leaves little wiggle room. Very, very, little, like, you get a lot less value for what it is that you have to get from it. It does say over 30 seconds in chase, so I would assume that would mean that you can't just, like, run in front of the killer when they're carrying a survivor and immediately, like, run away and then get a token. It's probably something, like, similar to what it used to be where it would slowly build up over those 30 seconds. There's something like with Stakeout 2 where it slowly builds up. It's I'm assuming going to be a time-based thing. So you could potentially, like, run by little bits of chase here and there, like, 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there, and it would add up towards the tokens. Version is not dead then? No, it's not. I knew they were going to make it 2. I'm like, 3 is too much. 1 is too little. But having it swap to be in chase and having it so it's 2 tokens, it's I knew it was going to come. It's just what makes the most sense. Expansion, new survivors who drop a pallet have their aura revealed for 6, 7, 8 seconds. Reintroduce aura reading for pallets involved within 32 meters. Remove no longer reveals auras of survivors near drop pallets. So now it's just gonna, instead of seeing them when they're near a drop pallet, you're just gonna see them when they drop the pallet. If it's tier 3, it's gonna be 8 seconds. And then you also still get to see like pallets, vaults, brick walls, all of that within 32 meters. So it's just getting like an extra effect on top. I think that'll actually still be good. It'll be nice for killers, like still range killers as well. Gives it a little bit more value. Why limit tokens to 2? Because tokens it doesn't need to be 3. 3 is a little bit too much. The whole purpose of distortion, like one of the issues with it, or at least even on the survivor side, I think this is a good change, because even though not everybody uses it this way, some people use it to just be a rat and basically hide all game, and it screws over their teammates. Because you could have everybody say death hook, and they're getting chased around, and they have one teammate who hasn't been hooked, hasn't been chased, and they have distortion, and they're just hiding all game. Not everybody does that. I'm not saying everybody does, because they definitely don't, but there are a lot of people that do, and it makes it hard for the killer to find them, but also it screws over their teammates because they're not taking aggro. So now distortion being geared more towards having to be in chase to get it, it still is able to kind of take away that information the killer gets, which is good for the survivors, but it also encourages them to also take aggro from their teammates. It also encourages you to still interact with the killer, which means that you're not just going to have somebody who's hiding all game. If that makes sense. It's really not hard to get tokens. 30 seconds, especially with, I'm assuming it's going to operate the same as old distortion and whatnot, where it just slowly ticks up over time. So you don't even have to get, like, it doesn't have to be 30 straight seconds. It could just be like a few seconds here, a few seconds there, and it'll slowly build up. And then it could still come in clutch when you need it to, whether it be from like a barbecue proc, an I'm all ears, nurses calling, whatever it may be. And it'll still help out. It'll still come in handy. And again, it still takes away that extra info from the killer, but it also encourages you to take the aggro from your teammates. Hiding as an interactive behavior is also going to make changes that encourage survivor-killer interaction. Yeah, like, there's nothing wrong with hiding in general. Like, there are moments where hiding is a good thing to do, and where it can waste the killer's time. Like, if you throw them off and maybe they're searching an area for a really long time, trying to find you, but they can't, so they're not chasing anybody else, they're just looking, it can work, and it can be good. But if it's in a situation like where your teammates are dying and they're losing health states and there's somebody that's not taking chase, not taking the aggro, it's worse for their team because they're not spacing out those hooks. You don't want to have all the hooks on only a few survivors. The more you space out your hooks, the better it'll be for the team. I think it's better for killer and for survivor. Killer, then you don't have to worry about somebody that just hides all game and you never find them, you never see them. And then for survivor, you don't have to worry about a teammate who's hiding all game, never taking aggro. So you know, to be chased, you get cheese at following another chase to gain those stacks. Yeah, that's what I was saying before. Like, you can get a couple extra seconds here and there just by running by the killer. Like, if they're carrying somebody on their shoulder, if you run by in front of them, it starts to chase, and you could farm up seconds, even just doing something like that. But then again, it encourages like you to kind of get in the killer's face, kind of take some of the aggro, take their attention. Distortion urban players have a special place in hell. Yeah, so many games where 3 people had distortion. It was tunnel because you can't get aura from others. You remove that perk. No, I think it's good. I think this is what I expected from it. I always expected that it would be something that has to be chase based to get it. To encourage taking aggro, and that making it 2 tokens makes more sense. It balances it out a bit more. Your Deso could get some hiding, or killers making their first patrol at start a game. If you're winning and beam and palisade. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing wrong with hiding as a whole. There are moments where it is like the correct play and it is advantageous, but there's also times where if you hide too much, never get found, never take aggro, it screws over your team. So yeah, so Zanshin gets the new effect of being able to see survivor auras for 8 seconds when they drop a pallet, which is nice. So it gets to keep its original effect that everybody liked, and it has like a little extra added effect, which I could see it being useful for some range killers now too. Potentially even something like Pyramid Head, more so now. Give you a little extra aura reading when you're trying to go through shots through the wall. I'd actually love to test this out on Pyramid Head. Like the big players. Alright, corrective action once again turns missed skill checks into good skill checks. New when corrective action activates, reveal the aura of the survivor who missed a skill check for a few seconds. Hey yo, they're gonna rat it out. They're gonna rat out the survivor who missed the skill check. You can't hide it now. If you got 3 people or 4 people on a gen, they can't hide who did it, who fucked it up. You'll know. Gonna rat them out. That's funny. Okay, corrective action no longer has a range limit. Oh. So if somebody was to fail a healing skill check or just like a skill check in general anywhere on the map. Interesting. Okay. Shame, you missed skill check. Yeah, you're gonna see your teammate or Claudette sitting in the corner of the map with self-care fucking missing her skill checks. You're just gonna see your aura light up every now and then. Yeah, this guy missed a skill check. Yeah, everybody run over there and shame him. Oh. Always also blowing gens. Hey man, when I blow a gen up, it's because I look over to read chat, alright? Just always they got Greg from HR sitting there with his button, his finger on the button, alright, to spam it, to send skill checks anytime I look away to read chat. Hey Cameron, welcome in. Hello. When the person fails skill check, killer most time will chase them. He's like, I didn't do what they did. Take them instead. Challenge you to push things to the limit of PTB, and boy did you ever. Corrective action had some strong combos, so we're moving on to a new design. Corrective action will once again convert missed skill checks into good skill checks. Before in the PTB it was great. And to make it more appealing, it will work no matter where you are in the map. This makes it feel far less dependent on being right next to somebody when they happen to miss a skill check. I think that's good. The great skill checks were definitely problematic because that was when you'd have 2 people that would run corrective action and hyper focus. And you basically just sit there and you would spam the spacebar and intentionally miss your skill checks. And the other person's corrective action would convert your missed skill checks to a great, which would then give you a hyper focus skill check, or a hyper focus stack. And with corrective action, you get a new stack back every great skill check. So by failing it, you got a hyper focus and a corrective action. So you just sit there and both spam the button, both auto fail, and you just be farming both your hyper focus and corrective action off each other. It was nasty. Some strong combos, the biggest understatement you've ever seen in their patch notes. It was bad. I figured if they were gonna end up going through with keeping it as a great, that they would have to change it so you wouldn't be able to get a corrective action stack off of a skill check that was fixed by somebody else's corrective action, or something along those lines. I think making it go back to being a good skill check is definitely for the best. I don't know what they mean with combo. I had gens only in 16 seconds. Yeah, bro. 16-second gen, bro. It's just, just get good at guarding your gens, guys. It's, Killer just didn't keep up enough gen pressure. Alright, and then Deathbound change effects now ends when losing a hell state. With the Oblivious effect being removed only when hooked, Deathbound ended up being active for far too long in most cases. We switched it to deactivate when a hell state is lost, but kept the other improvements as is. Which is, I believe, we scroll here to the other one, the original one. Where's that? So it doesn't have a distance to activate anymore. And then no longer has a duration, instead it deactivates when the healer is now injured. Because I don't even remember the Deathbound, I'm not gonna lie. Despite the fact that I keep getting it in Chaos Shuffle. Yeah, so anytime a survivor heals another survivor for a health state, it used to be 32 meters, it's not gonna matter now. So anytime somebody heals somebody, the survivor who does the healing, they'll scream and reveal their location, and then they'll be oblivious until the next time they get injured. Sorry, oblivious if they're like during that time, they'll be oblivious anytime they're further from 8 meters, or further than 8 meters from whoever it is they healed. So actually, I think it'll be a lot better now. So basically, you heal somebody. Yeah, heal somebody, get oblivious. So next time you're schmickle. That'd actually be really, really nice. And yeah, if you're paying attention to the screams, you'll be able to keep track of who's oblivious too. Unlimited oblivious for Pyramid Head. Bro, that'd be so busted. I didn't even think about that potential of like Pyramid Head because he uses his cage. He doesn't actually hook, so you could literally keep them oblivious all game and they would have no way of removing it. I didn't even think about that. That's so busted. Why are they changing Zanshin? Nobody asked for that. They're changing Zanshin because it's a dookie perk that gets little to no value. So I like it though. I like the extra. I like the fact that they're keeping the original Paladin Aura reading on it, and that they're just giving it like a little extra effect. I would actually really love to test this out on Pyramid Head. You hear about the clown man who swore about old Zanshin? Yeah, the guy who wrote the 131-page guide, clown guide. How could I not hear about that? Bro is a clown legend. Yeah, no, they're fixing it. This is like the updated patch notes, and they're also getting rid of the Mori too. I think overall I'm pretty happy with this. I am curious to see how the Skull Merchant extra haste or not haste. I keep saying haste. The Skull Merchant extra hindered here is gonna play out. I think it should be fine because it does take a bit of work to get to that point, to get to that, you know, getting somebody hindered. And because of the slight changes to how you're actually getting the haste as well. Along with the reduced movement speed when pulling at your, either dropping a drone or pulling at your radar scan to swap the direction of the drone spin. It like I said, it also doesn't directly state whether or not it's actually bringing back the 2 scan lines. I'm going to assume based on the fact that it doesn't say anything in here. I'm assuming they're still going through with only having 1 scan line again, which is why I think they did the 95 degrees per second instead of 85. You read that guide on stream, on a 24-hour stream, what, the 131 pages? Nah, I don't know. I don't know if I could do that. It might be too much clowning for me. There's someone new to Killer before in customs and had him throw in Zanshin, just get an idea. I think it's cool for that. Did you have them read the entire guide? Did you be like, hey, you're new to the game, let me get you a guide? Oh, just hand him just the clown guide, that would be amazing. Hindered seems fair considering the counterplay is a lot easier once again. Yeah, that's I think a mixture of that along with like the hindered being increased along with the reduced movement speed, being having to work a little more to get that haste, and like the 1 scan line. I think it'll be okay, but I'm gonna keep an open mind. I'm gonna test it out, see how it is when it goes live. I think it'll be okay though. And I'm feeling like for their larger rework here, realistically, when they get around to it, they're probably gonna do like a full-blown, like complete rework. They might still keep drones as like a feature with her, but I don't think it's gonna end up doing the same thing. I real like with how negatively she's been received and how many issues she's had. I do think it's technically possible that they could keep trying to tweak little numbers here and there and make it feel better to play as and against. But I feel like right now, I don't really think it's going to get to that point where people will enjoy it. I'm sure there'll always be people that will disconnect regardless, you know, that won't even try and learn. As is the case with many changes that get made. Some people will be like that. But I think full-blown rework